it's tough to watch, Ryan. And like I said, this is something I'm like the word that kept coming to mind yesterday is this is offensive. And not offensive like good offense, like offensive like this is like stinks. Like it's offensive to watch them play football right now.
Hello, and welcome to Gangs All Here. My name is Ryan Sampson, the host and producer of the show. That's our Jets beat writer, Brian Costello. The Jets coming off another ugly loss against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday, 37-22. Today is Monday, October 6th, and I'm here to discuss this loss with Brian. And we're going to talk about Aaron Glenn, this defense, the offense. We're going to break it all down on today's episode. But before anything else, Brian, how are you doing today on this Monday?
Ready to pack for London, Ryan. That's my big agenda item for the day. A lot of packing for a week for London. Not looking forward to doing the packing today.
Are you heading out today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, it is a full week in London. Look, I'll start with just initial thoughts. I mean, this is like not. I don't think any Jets fan or you maybe have seen them going 0-5 to start the season. But what's your initial thoughts here that the Jets just dropped another brutal game?
Yeah, it's more of the same. I feel like we've been talking about this for a while. It's not the losing. I mean, obviously the losing is mounting up now. 0-5 is pretty rough, but it's not the losing, it's the way they're losing, Ryan. That's just so kind of surprising, and I think just embarrassing for the Jets is just like you looked at it yesterday and it was like, okay, the Cowboys have four starting offensive linemen down. We heard this 2 weeks ago in Tampa where they had three starting offensive linemen down. So, okay, well, they should be able to get after Dak a little bit here, and nope, one sack, and it wasn't even a real sack. It was Dak, falling down at the end of the game. Um, then you look at the other side of the ball and you're like, okay, the Cowboys have the worst defense statistically in the NFL. They're 31st in points, 32nd in yards. The Jets should be able to move the ball and score on this team. Well, they scored 3 points when the game really mattered. And um, Micah Parsons gets traded. Cowboys have no pass rush. Oh my God. Would they have five sacks yesterday? And they had five all season coming into the game. Like, and the Jets offensive line have been one of the good things. So it's just like, just the way they're losing. I mean, the first half, Ryan, was one of the worst halves of football I've ever seen. And I was tweeting stuff like that and texting stuff, and people were like, come on, like, you've seen, what about this? What about this? And like, yeah, uh, the Ghost game comes to mind, right? That was probably as bad as it's ever gotten. But that was Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Okay. They were a year removed from winning the Super Bowl. Okay. So it's like, yeah, that game was horrendous, but that was the varsity versus the JV. This should have been a fairly even matchup with the Cowboys where the Cowboys are at. Like they no CD Lamb, all those offensive linemen missing, the defense being horrendous. Um, I don't know if you'd ever heard of Ryan Flanoy before,
Nope.
Ryan, but you're a better football fan than I am if you had. And
100
all of a
yards
sudden
before halftime for Ryan Flournoy.
I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And I grabbed one of the Cowboys beat writers. I go, who the hell's this? And he's like, he was on the practice squad. He got called up for the Giants game off the practice squad. He's like, I've never spoken to him before. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, he looks like Michael Irvin out there. So yeah, it's hard to think of anything good to say from this game because I thought Brees had a really good game,
Yes.
except the fumble, right? And so like that kind of wipes everything else out. So it's difficult to find any positives from this game, Ryan.
No, it's hard to find any positives on this game. Look, there's this narrative here that's coming from I think a lot of fans, cause after this loss of it's the same old Jets in terms of how they're losing these games, and we're tired of seeing the stat padding on the offensive side of the ball when really they're not in these games. They haven't been in these games
Yeah.
all season long. It seems like besides week one, and this is something I said to Frankie yesterday. That was a farce, believe it or not. The rest of this season has been the true Jets in terms of
Yeah.
offensively, they're really not in the game and they're stat padding after the defense finally backs off. And defensively, it's the missed tackles, it's the penalties, and it's the timely not getting stops on third and fourth down when you need to. That has been the constant theme of these Jets games. And they constantly are turning the ball over before the first half. and then the game just slips away. It's the same script, like you just said.
Yeah.
Like the Tampa Bay game,
Yeah.
they throw the pick six. Miami, they fumble the ball at the goal line. And then yesterday, Breece Hall fumbles at the 9-yard line, and then you let them drive
Yeah.
91 yards for a
Yeah.
touchdown. There's
Yeah.
no positives from this team at all. And that's where I get frustrated as a fan, because I do want to give patience to Aaron Glenn, but there's nothing to be positive about with this football team besides, like you said, maybe a Breece Hall, but he fumbled in the key
He
spot.
fumbled like that. Yeah, I just did my rewind, which is this thing I write in the Monday mornings where I do some items, and I looked at the garbage time, right? Because I'm like, it's remarkable. I'm like, every week they seem to score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Ryan, they haven't scored a touchdown in the first half since the Steelers game.
It's
And like
crazy.
I had to check that like 10 times because I'm like, this can't be right. I'm like, this cannot possibly be right. Like, and I kept looking and looking and like, yeah. And they have one touchdown in the third quarter, and then the rest of them are in the fourth quarter. And I went through the stats, like they're averaging 6 points a game if you just take the first 3 quarters of the last 4 games. Forget the Steelers game, right? That game as the outlier. But Buffalo, Tampa, Miami, Dallas, they are averaging 6 points a game in the first 3 quarters. So you can't play like this. I mean, you can't play like this, period.
Yeah.
But if you're the Jets and your whole like plan around Justin Fields was, hey, we're gonna play great defense. We're gonna run the ball. We just need him not to turn the ball over, and we'll be fine. Like that's the 2009 Jets was the game plan, right? Well, you cannot fall behind if you're going to operate like that because once you're down 14 points, 20 points, that goes out the window. Like you can't sit there and run the ball anymore. So the Jets yesterday, they have a really nice drive. 13 plays, they kick a field goal. Like score the touchdown, right? And it was last week they fumbled going in. And then you have like this ends up being a footnote, Ryan, because they got blown out, right? But you have 4th and 5 at the Cowboys' 43-yard line, right? Which I think the score was 3-3 at the time.
Yes.
Go for it. Like, just what are you doing? And like, I asked him this morning, and he said he was playing field position. But like, I don't know if this makes sense, Ryan. But to me, Dak Prescott is as dangerous at the 50-yard line as he is at his own 10-yard line. He's one of those quarterbacks. If you remember years and years and years ago, Belichick went for it
Mm-hmm.
deep in his own territory against the Colts and Peyton Manning, and everyone thought it was nuts. This was before people went for it on fourth down all the time, and he was like basically like Peyton Manning is going to beat us if I give him the ball at his own 20, or he's going to beat us if I give it to him at our 20 or his 20. It doesn't matter. Dak felt like that yesterday, and he's felt like that this season. He's playing at a level where Dak is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and so to me, if you hand him the ball at the 43-yard line, it's not that much of a difference than where I mean, I don't know where the punt went, where they ended up giving him the ball.
They
I have
actually pinned them
the
in.
position chart.
They pinned them inside their 10-yard line, actually, believe it or not. But to your point, they also have
Yeah, the 9. Yeah,
the 9, and they also have the best kicker in football, you can argue, in Brandon Aubrey. So they don't need much yardage. If you go
yeah,
for it, you're already giving up the field goal because he's going to nail it from midfield anyway. So
yes,
and,
yeah.
and
But
that
like, yeah, I just felt like you had to. The only way you were going to win that game yesterday was if you were going toe to toe with them scoring points. So punting in that situation to me, yeah, here it is. They got the ball at the 10. The Cowboys got the ball at the 10, and they ended up that's when they scored the first touchdown. Yeah,
correct.
they went 90 yards in 13 plays.
90 yards, 13 plays. So to back up what Kaz has said there in the beginning about the Jets offense not putting up a touchdown for the first 3 quarters, they were losing 30-6 before their first offensive touchdown yesterday in the fourth quarter when they scored. They were losing 17-3 against Miami, which they didn't score their first offensive touchdown till the third quarter. They were losing 23-6 before they scored their first offensive touchdown versus the Buccaneers in the fourth quarter. And they were losing 30-3 before their first offensive touchdown in the fourth quarter versus the Buffalo Bills. They haven't scored their first offensive touchdown in these games until garbage time. So that's where I feel like we're getting gaslit a little bit by Glenn and Tanner Engstrand, who go to the strong defense of, well, look at the tape. look at what we're putting up there. The numbers say we're actually performing well, but I look at the tape and I watch the film and we see how these scenarios are playing out. Cause it's they are not in these games, and
Yeah.
they look like the worst team in football. Like that's to be frank, that's what they're playing
Well,
right now, and that's what it is.
they are the worst team in football, Ryan. They're the only team without a win. So it's not looks like they are. Like what? And if you might say, well, they're not really. They're better than well, but you are what your record says you are, right? They are 0 wins, 5 losses. The Titans won a game yesterday. The Saints won a game yesterday. So they're the worst team in football right now. And I haven't heard Glenn say that about the stats, right? I think, yeah, Engstrand goes there a little bit, but Glenn hasn't really gotten there in his defense. Like he hasn't. But yeah, I think the offense is sort of has sort of gotten a pass because the defense has been so bad.
Yeah,
I don't think we really focused on how bad the offense is right now. And because it's like they 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 do run the ball pretty well. And like until yesterday, the offensive line had been doing well. And it's like, okay, they have no second receiver, so there's that. Garrett's played pretty well. Fields, he's not throwing 4 interceptions a game, so it doesn't feel like he's playing poorly, but he
but
just really does
he
nothing,
does nothing. I
and
mean,
so
he missed Garrett
yeah.
Wilson on the sideline for a go ball, which was an easy touchdown. An
Yeah,
NFL
yeah, he had a
quarterback,
step. He had a step big time. Yeah. Yeah.
a quarterback, an NFL quarterback makes that throw every time. And I just he has the longest time to throw, believe it or not. He has the longest average snap to
Yeah.
throw, which is that's not a good thing in the NFL. It doesn't mean that he's getting great protection or
No,
all that.
I mean, look, the knock on him was he processed slowly, and he's processing slowly. And I'm not sure how you change that, right? I don't know. Maybe Kyle Shanahan can change that. Maybe Kevin O'Connell can change that. But I'm not sure how you coach that out of a guy. I think if that's who you are, that's who you are. Um, I was a little puzzled why they didn't run him more yesterday.
Is that concussion thing, like them worried about him getting hurt again? Because I agree, they
He,
barely
he
ran the
ran
read
he ran in
option.
Miami. He ran in Miami though, didn't he? Like I'm trying to remember. I know the big run was a scramble, but I feel like there was some design runs in Miami. Maybe I'm wrong. I that my memory's telling me that there was. But yeah, it felt like there was no design runs outside of quarterback sneaks yesterday,
There was only
which
one.
was weird.
Yeah, there was only one designed run. I was watching the tape. It was the read option on their first drive, believe it or not. He keeps it, and then he
Right.
boots to the right, and
Yeah,
he
yeah,
thought he
right.
was going to score, but he doesn't because the
Yeah,
safety
yes.
makes a
He
great
ran out of
tackle.
bounds.
But I
Yeah,
watched the
yeah.
rest of
Oh
his
yeah.
runs. He
The
never.
penalty. There was a penalty on the play, right? That was the one they yeah. Yeah.
But there were no other designed runs to what you're saying, Kaz, and that's where
Yeah.
again I'm like, because if you look at Fields' day, and this is something I would question the offensive coordinator. It's like, well, he's 32 of 46 for 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. It's like, okay, but look in the context of where you're putting those stats, and it's at garbage time when really you're out
Yeah.
of the game. So I'm not gonna put much credence to what you're saying here. So that's where I challenge that. The other part is the defense. I feel like we should hit this too. 13 missed tackles at halftime, Kaz. That's unheard
Yeah.
of. I feel like per next gen stats. I saw the stats getting tweeted out and everything.
Yeah.
Look,
Only one in the second half, Ryan. So
only one
they
in
were
the
better in the
second
second
half,
half.
but 100 yards to Javonte Williams before halftime, 100 yards to Flournoy, a guy who came off the practice squad. They're down their number one receiver, who is legit, and CD Lamb. And you're down 4 offensive starting linemen, and they only had 1 pressure for the entire game and the 1 BS sack on the game. How many times am I going to ask, what does this defense do well? And how much should we put this on Steve Wilks? And how much can we put on Aaron Glenn? Because I think this is another thing I want to talk about later with Aaron Glenn coming over here as a Jets head coach. Where's the accountability on your side as a former defensive coordinator?
Yeah, look, I think there's plenty of blame to go around, and I think you got to throw the players in there too, Ryan, to be fair. I think the easy thing is to go Steve Wilkes sucks, Aaron Glenn sucks, right? But like these guys are highly paid players, especially Jamie Sherwood got paid a lot of money this offseason. He's not playing well. Sauce, I think Sauce played pretty well yesterday, but obviously gave up a 43-yard touchdown. So you're the number one cornerback in the NFL. You're not giving up 43-yard touchdowns, right? Um,
Third down slant to George Pickens as well. He gave up too.
yeah, that to me was scheme. Like why is Cisco showing the blitz? I don't know. I think I could have thrown that slant, Ryan, because you see Cisco coming up and you just get it and throw it as fast as you can. I'm not sure Sauce is making that play. I'm not killing him on that one, but I know he made some tackles. But look, he's the highest paid corner in the NFL now. That with that comes higher expectations. Um, Quinnen has been quiet, right? Quinnen's getting paid. He's been very quiet. I understand they're sliding protection to him, but if you're the dude, you're gonna get through that. You're gonna battle through it no matter what. So, um, yeah, their star players are not playing very well, and then guys who we thought I think maybe like would take another step this year. Jermaine hasn't been on the field, and he's clearly annoyed. I saw him on X, like he wants to play, and they're not letting him play. Will McDonald is, 2 sacks in week 1, and then he's been pretty invisible since then. So Quincy's hurt. So yeah, I think there's plenty of blame to go around. My thing with the accountability part of it, Ryan, and I asked Glenn this morning, like, are you considering personnel changes? And he said, well, everyone has to earn their keep. But I don't know. We're 5 weeks in now, and I've argued against you sometimes. And when you're like, bench Michael Clemens or bench this guy, who do you want? Right now, I'd try anyone. And Clemens, I'm not saying Clemens because Clemens I actually thought played okay yesterday,
I
but
just
he's not.
I just watched the tape. There's some bad plays on Clemens yesterday where he's
There's
staring
bad,
at
but like,
no one and the ball carrier's going right past him.
all right. So but like, I'm almost in the try anyone point part of the program now. Like, it can't be worse than it is. So give guys a shot. You might be surprised. Somebody might play well and shock you. Um, I think, I think you gotta just try some different people. And they did some different things schematically yesterday with Malachi Moore and Isaiah Oliver, but I don't know. I would be making some changes if I was Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, that's certainly something to pay attention to. So look, we hit on offense, we hit on defense. The penalties have continued, the turnovers have continued. The defense has not caused any turnovers, and there's a couple things
Just amazing.
amazing. And now we're at the point where Glenn's making history, right? First head
Yeah.
coach in Jets history to start as a rookie 0-5 rookie head coach, and then he also is the first team ever in NFL history to start 0-5 and not create any turnovers. The heat is getting hotter around this, but I understand. He's the highest paid. You talked about it last week. We can't confirm
He's
it.
got a big salary.
He's got a big salary. He's not going anywhere. But I'm telling you guys, it is getting ugly out here right now. Jets fans I've never seen them
Yeah.
so angry about this head coach and this team right now because of the product. They're not competitive in these games. They're really not.
Yeah.
The product that he promised, that he said, or not promised, but he said, I want the Jets fans to be proud of. This ain't it. This can't be it. So I wonder, was he just not the right hire ultimately here? Should I start questioning that? Or am I supposed to go through this entire season where I'm questioning, are they ever going to get a win? And am I really going to be trusting this guy going into year 2?
I think it's fair to be concerned, right? I don't think it's fair to be kicking him out the door yet, right? It's 5 games. And legitimately they've played one team who I think we would probably say is not a good team, the Dolphins, right? The other teams, Steelers are kind of questionable. Cowboys are going through a lot right now, but he might be he's in the conversation for MVP right now.
I agree.
That's the level he's playing at quarterback. So, um, I do think wins are coming, right? We've talked about this ad nauseum. There are winnable games on the schedule, and I understand that if you're in Cincinnati right now, you're looking at the Jets and saying, "Well, the Jets are a game we're going to
Jets
win."
are going to win.
If you're in New Orleans, you're like, "Well, they can beat the
They could
Jets."
beat the
So I get
Jets.
it, but the Jets are going to win some of these games. They're not going to go 0-17. They are not going to go out on 17. So they're going to win some games, and I think that's the challenge now is for Glenn that they've got to start showing some progress here. And I actually think this trip to London is kind of a good thing, Ryan. I think it's like let's us against the world. We're all by ourselves. Like the families are back here. Like they're it's almost like a training camp mentality. They're leaving today, which is Monday. They're gonna spend the whole week together in London. Nothing but Jets, they're not gonna have to drive their kids to school. They're not gonna have to worry about soccer practice. They're just gonna be worried about football for a week, and they're gonna be together, and they're gonna not gonna first take isn't gonna be on TV. So I do think this could be a good week for them in that regard.
But they're playing the Denver Broncos, who are
They are playing the Denver Broncos,
and
but this is the NFL, and wacky things happen. So you never know.
I wish I had that kind of optimism right now about this Jets team right now. But am I crazy enough to say that this is by far the worst football team I've ever watched as in Jets history? And mind you,
All right,
I was 2 years old. I was two.
2020, 2020
No, this team's
wasn't worse.
worse. This team's worse.
Get out of town.
Yep.
Get out of town.
Yep.
2020 was worse.
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
How?
I think that this is really the worst team I've ever seen because the defense is not even competitive in these games. The fact that you got dog walked by a Cowboys offense that had missing 4 offensive linemen and you can't get any pressure on the quarterback. They miss
I
tackles left and right. Their pursuit from linebackers is not good. They're not a good football team. They're the worst football team. And that's why I am not confident at all in any of these games. I think they're going to lose to the Panthers. The Panthers just beat the Dolphins. I think they'll probably lose to
we
the
did.
Bengals. Like this is it, cause we could be possibly looking at 0-9 before the bye week. That's how it looks right now.
I'm looking back at the 2020 Jets. All right. The Bills game, I think that was 27-17. That was non-competitive, and they scored a touch. Jamison Crowder scored a late touchdown. I remember to make that close. The San Francisco game was one of the great ass kickings I've ever seen. 31-13. Remember,
Nick Bosa tore his ACL in that game. I remember that one.
I think it was Mostert went around edge right at the beginning of the game for like an 80-yard touchdown. 36-7 in Indianapolis. That was an absolute smackdown. 37-28 to the Broncos on a Thursday night when Brett Rippon was the quarterback for the Broncos. Like this team was atrocious. 30-10 to the Cardinals, 24-0 to the Dolphins, 35-9 Chiefs. Like this team was tough. And you had Sam Flacco was the quarterback. Leading rusher is Frank Gore.
Yep.
Leading receiver, I think, is Crowder, probably Crowder, Braxton Berrios, Chris Herndon, Brashad
So
Perriman,
look,
Denzel
so
Mims.
what
So
you're
that team's worse in my mind.
on a talent, yes. On a talent way, yes. But this team, performance
Okay.
wise, is the worst I've ever seen.
So if you're grading on a curve, right, I will say like I kind of said about the Ghost game, right? Like yeah, I give that. Like the puzzling thing about this Jets team is there is talent here. Um, There, Garrett, Brees, Quinnen, Sauce, there's and Fields ostensibly should be better than he is.
Mason Taylor, Membu, Fashanu, they have guys that they believe in.
Yeah,
You would believe in.
there's talent, and yeah, so I will give you that. This should be they should be better, but I'm not sure if they're gonna. I do you think this team's gonna only win 2 games?
It's looking very much like that right now, Kaz.
Wow, wow, from 10-2,
Yeah, I
Ryan.
know. It's a
10-2. That's like the driving they taught you, right?
mm-hmm.
Hands at 10-2.
Mm-hmm.
You went from 10-2. Whew.
It's been a hard slap in the face for me. And the realization, again, the tape doesn't lie. They look horrible on the field. And they don't look competitive in these games. And I think when you continuously are getting mocked and laughed by the broadcast, even Greg Olson was laughing at them. He goes, "This just isn't a good football team. Like they don't do
He says
anything
this is
well.
bad football. Yeah,
This
I
is
know.
bad football." And
Yeah,
and that's gonna again, that's on the coach. Like I can't overemphasize this enough. He chose his defensive coordinator. He chose this offensive
did.
coordinator. He chose this quarterback, right? And said, to your point, we're going to play good defense. We're going to run the ball well. But they don't even do those things well right now. And you could say they run the
Yeah.
ball well, but they also have costly turnovers because
Yeah, Fields ended up throwing 46 passes yesterday. There's no universe where the Jets want Justin Fields throwing 46 passes. So, and yeah, it's not good. And I think the other part, and this is I was talking to someone about this the other day with the Jets. I think it's tricky. The Jets this is Aaron Glenn. This is also like the Jets content team and Jets social media team. They spend from January to August building this team up. And it's a business, right? Part of it is selling tickets, part of it's selling jerseys. I get it, but they get you guys all fired up about this no matter what. Like there's no honesty in it, right? They're selling their product here. So they're making you think they're much better than they are in a lot of cases, and then reality slaps you guys in the face when September comes. And I thought they'd be better than this. I did, but I still think, I had a little more perspective going in than maybe that there would be some struggles early in the season. Um, but like, Malachi Corley, you gotta go back to that. The no matter what, they put that out, and like all of a sudden Corley, the expectations for Corley became enormous, and he crumbled. So I think it's an interesting thing where the Jets have to balance that. And I don't know what the answer is, but because they're always going to build their team up. But yeah, the reality is not good right now.
The reality is not good. Final question for you guys. When does the point in the season come where you start asking yourself as a franchise, are we better off selling the pieces that we have and getting as
Yeah.
much value as you can get back in return? And I'm talking about Quinnen. I'm talking about, would you potentially trade Sauce after signing him to a deal? Just because those are guys you can get a lot of draft picks back. And right now, this team's going nowhere fast, and I don't need those guys on the roster if you truly don't believe you can build around them.
Yeah. I gotta think there's major salary cap implications if you trade Sauce. I'd have to look at that, but usually after you sign a guy, he's not tradable.
I believe his
Um,
contract number is not that bad, believe it or not, his cap hit
if
wise.
they trade him,
Yeah.
it's usually bad. No, I'm not there, Ryan. I think for Aaron Glenn to establish his program, they need to win some games. I think those guys are going to help you win games at some point. So Brees. Brees is an interesting one now, right? Because you're not going to have Braylon Allen for 8 to 12 weeks. So if if you trade Brees, you're losing the locker room. I'll tell you that. Like the guys are going to go, okay, we're waving the white flag. They don't care about winning this year. So that's tricky. But he's a guy. If he's not in your plans going forward, right? Then you can make the argument like the Giants didn't get anything for Saquon. Should they have moved on from Saquon when they didn't that year? But no, I'm not. Quinnen, I think Quinnen's the heart and soul of this team. I'm not getting rid of him. I'm not trading any of the big names. Brees is the only one that I would consider.
Okay. It's interesting. Brees would be an interesting piece to trade. I would say with Sauce, he does only have a dead cap next year of 36 million. If you wanted to eat that, after that it goes to 8 million and 5 million. So I don't know. Like it's interesting to see how they work this around because I know the noise is only going to get louder here as the season goes on. I don't think they're going to have a chance in hell to beat the Broncos. I know what you said. It's a funny game in the NFL. We'll see how it goes in London.
Not a chance in
Not a
hell.
chance in hell, my friend. Not a chance in hell. This is a season that has gone down the drain real quick, and it's only going to get louder around Aaron Glenn. We'll see how he manages it because I don't like when my coach is saying after the game it's going to take time, fellas. This team was a 5-win team last year, thought to be a Super Bowl contending roster. You decided to ship off the quarterback and the wide receiver that were all pro, or former NFL Hall of Famer and an all pro wide receiver that even Sean McVay still thinks has a lot left in the tank. You decided to ship them off, and you said you were better off. And now we're seeing right
Yeah.
now.
So the Devontae one's interesting, right? Because I was just talking. Someone asked me from the Jets, "Do you think, with knowing what you know now, would you have kept Rodgers and Devontae?" And I said, "Look, Rodgers, no. I was like, I understand. Like, we see what Aaron Glenn wants to do, and I'm not saying it's working, but we see what he wants to do. There's no way he would have been able to be the tough guy act with Aaron Rodgers in the building. Like, it just wouldn't have worked. So, but Devontae would have been a nice piece to keep to hold on to because he would have helped you two ways. A, as a receiver, because he's still a very good wide receiver, and B, as that voice in the locker room that I think we talked about last week. They don't have that veteran guy in the locker room to hold people accountable and to help Aaron Glenn in that regard. And Devontae would have been that guy. There's just no way you could have kept Devontae without Aaron Rodgers, right? You're gonna have to rework his contract. His contract was a lot, and I don't think there's any way Devontae would have stayed here without Aaron Rodgers. So it's nice to say, but like I don't think it would have happened.
Yep. Kaz, we appreciate you, man. Safe travels to London. I'm sure we're going to talk to you again later this week as we preview this game. And thank you as always for hopping on here and playing therapy session here for some of these Jets fans.
I don't think I'm doing very good with the therapy right now.
I mean, you're being
I don't have the
honest. I'll give you
I don't
that.
have many answers.
No, but I'm going to continue to poke you with questions and try and get your analysis out of it. We appreciate you
Well,
guys.
some of my tweets yesterday, I had some people reach out that were concerned for me. They thought I was cracking yesterday with some of my tweeting. So it's tough to watch, Ryan. And like I said, this is something I'm like the word that kept coming to mind yesterday is this is offensive. And not offensive like good offense, like offensive like this is like stinks. Like it's offensive to watch them play football right now. And I I'm not paying money to go see it. I'm being paid to watch it. But like I feel terrible for all of you guys who are so invested in this team emotionally, financially, and you get kicked in the teeth every Sunday. It's tough.
It's more than tough. They keep giving us our hardest battles, and they find new lows to go to, and we're going to continue to go through it. Appreciate you, guys.
All right, thanks, Ryan.